Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Gaines. I'm the program manager that oversees the NIH Health and Wellness Program. I want to thank you for attending our monthly lecture series, Focus on You. Today we have a very special guest lecturer covering this week's observance of Men's Health Week. I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Graham King from Balance Fitness.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Thanks for coming. Hopefully you can hear me okay. This audio is good. So I want to thank Michael Donovan for setting this up. He emailed me a few weeks ago and he said, hey, can you do a presentation on men's health, and can you bring something on board to NIH? I said, I'd love to. So with a lot of my clients, I like to compare kind of training and your body. I like to compare it to like a vehicle, like think about your body as a high performance machine. So the photos here is what is one of my favorite cars. It's a Ferrari convertible, nice and shiny, nice rims, everything else. And the gentleman here, that's Graham Holmberg. He is what you could call the fittest man alive. He won the CrossFit Games last year in Home Depot Center in Los Angeles. It's CrossFit is a fast-growing community of fitness enthusiasts who are competing in different things with Olympic lifts, gymnastics, things like that, and it's based on performance rather than aesthetics. So, a lot of us, we see fitness magazines and we see some sort of aesthetics as a goal, and really performance is the goal. If you think about the NBA Finals, I'm not sure that LeBron James or Dirk Nowitzki could really care less how their biceps looked. They were caring about their shots went in. So performance being the key there. So, okay. So I'll start with regular maintenance. Just like your car, your body operates better with regular activity. And this is key thing here. If you think about your car being say you're a 1978 Volkswagen you've had in the garage for 6 years, and you take it out because it's a nice day, you're not shocked when it runs terribly. Right? It's one of those things where if you maintain your car, drive on a regular basis, it's going to be performing much better. Your body's the same way. So the key there is exercise regularly. I know you hear it all the time, and we probably personal trainers and doctors always say this over and over again. But 20 intense minutes a day is better than 60 minutes when you get around to it. So that regular activity is saying, hey, 20 minutes. You can do it in your work clothes, stretch out, whatever it is. Build a habit. The habit is more important than taking that hour. Just because, for whatever reason, the day's divided in 24 hours and we cut everything up into 1 hour, that 1 hour isn't this magic number of fitness. It's continuous fitness all the time. So something you can do in your work clothes, something you can do after work, right before work, 20 minutes as compared to that hour long, whenever you can, if you will. So again, easier to schedule, easier to complete, and easier to maintain. And then in terms of creating a habit, a lot of psychologists say that you want to basically create a habit. It takes 3 weeks to do so. So by building that habit, it's much easier to do it, and every time you're continuing that habit as compared to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You miss Monday, then you miss Wednesday, then you miss Friday, and next thing you know, a week's gone by. So 20 minutes every day. And there's so many online tools out there. There are things like the CrossFit.com. Every day a new workout's posted. You can go in there, you can see videos. All the tools are right there for you. The Wendler 531 is a great strength training template where you can go in and you can find out how to lift, what tools to do, things like that. Anywhere Fitness, Blair Morrison is a good friend of mine. He is a CrossFit competitor. He finished 7th 2 years ago, 23rd last year. He has a blog called CrossFit Mobile, and lots of workouts outside, which is really good tools there. And then finally, Mark Sisson's blog, Mark's Daily Apple. They have a workout of the week, different things there. Lots of online tools. In terms of better fuel, again, like your car, your body runs better with better fuel. Eat the high test food, eat the right food. So if you put 67 octane in your car, again, you're not surprised when it runs poorly. When you put in bad food in your body, you're not surprised when it runs poorly. So in that, what you eat. This is one thing, and this is what I like to tell my clients, think food, not words. So many times we're told to eat macronutrients and vitamins and probiotics and low glycemic index, and it's like, where's the food come in? So eat food, chicken, asparagus, bananas, nuts. Eat whole foods. If you eat whole foods, all the words are in your foods, right? Everything we need is in whole foods. If you think about, I'm eating this bag of whatever because it's giving me probiotics, it's like, well, where can you find that naturally? Everything we need to have in our body is naturally. I mean, whether or not whoever you believe in, your maker, somehow or another, everything is there naturally for you. So, something to think about. The next thing here is get a good mechanic. When your car breaks down, you take it to the shop. You have a noise, whatever it is, you take your car to a mechanic. You have a conversation with your mechanic. This is going on, that's going on, can you help me out? Same thing with your body. You know, if you think about, have a good doctor, have a physical therapist, have a personal trainer that you can talk to and have a conversation with. My knee aches, my ankles are hurting, my shoulder, whatever it is internally. It's just like the best racing teams have the best mechanics and pit crews. Find a good doctor, find a physical therapist, find a personal trainer, and have that conversation on a regular basis. You know, my gym, we have trainers people see just once a week, or once a month, or once a year, whatever it is. And also have a good doctor. If you don't have a good doctor, ask your friends. It's one of those things, like you think about women from the age of 14 on, or plus or minus, see a gynecologist. They have a conversation with a gynecologist all the time. They're not afraid to talk to a doctor. But guys, we see a doctor for maybe high school to get a checkup, to get the clear that we're okay, and then probably about 80 years old we see a doctor again when something goes on. So it's a long time not to see a doctor. Get used to having those conversations, talk to your friends. It's very important to have someone you can rely on when you have something wrong with you. And on that, get a good mechanic. Think about your car. We do these regular things. We oil change every 3,000, rotate tires, timing belt. But what about your body? How often are you seeing them? You know, and check your vitals. I mean, if you're not getting your blood work done, your ears, your eyes, all these things are so important. If you wait till it's too late, it's one of those things where, like, don't expect a miracle to happen if you don't see your doctor. And it's like, oh, well, I'll just get surgery and have all these things fixed. A lot of it is regular, routine maintenance. So, fun thing here is getting into the training aspect and what I say, schedule races. Like any good Formula One or NASCAR, they race. Like any good athlete, they compete. And you think about competition, it kind of gets and keeps you motivated, kind of gets your fire inside. And this is one thing I say, like when we're in 5th grade and middle school and elementary school and high school, etc., we always compete with our friends. We're always thinking about who can jump higher, run faster, things like that. Competition is there, and it helps you train. If you're just competing and thinking, well, I can lift this and lift that, that's great, and have a goal, but also compete with your friends, compete with your coworkers, whatever it is, it helps you push yourself. And I have some tools here. Again, Competitor Magazine, every month, it's a free magazine. You can go and find 5K, 10K, you can find marathons, triathlons, and then all the different groups that can support you. Think about, there's 1,000,001 groups. Capital Striders, for example, is a group that will help you learn how to, help teach you how to run properly. There's other groups that teach you how to swim, things like that. There's a lot of good resources. There's a Viking Dash. Again, these people go out and run through fire and run over through creeks. Again, it's getting outside, having fun, and this is where it helps keep you motivated because you have a goal in the end. Team sports, there's a company called Sports Fight. It's Evite plus with a sports twist. You can go and find different players, abilities who want to keep competing in the team. And then plan that competition, put it on your calendar, and have fun. It definitely helps you keep motivated. Train like a pro. So what's your sport, and train like that athlete. So if you're a tennis player, train like a tennis player. If you like basketball, play basketball. It's more fun to train. The picture here of going over the hurdles, this is from the NFL Combine. Way more fun to train than trying to look like the the prototypical weightlifting guy who's all about looks and aesthetics and not necessarily performance. Again, when you're an NFL lineman, you're not worried about how big your biceps are. You're working about protecting your quarterback from getting sacked, or other side of the ball, getting the quarterback. So those are things like train like that pro. And in that, again, same thing. And I kind of go to here a little, wear the uniform. It's similar to work. When you dress the part, you definitely perform better. The example I use here is my stepfather, who was a big tennis player back in the 80s, but he still wears his real short white shorts. Looks like Bjorn Borg, but he's like 50 pounds heavier. I'm like, you've got to get some new shorts. Like lower, please, would be great. That big, thick terry cloth headband, get something a little newer. I mean, wear the uniform, dress the part. it's like anything. When you dress up and you feel like you're part of that team, part of that sport, you're going to perform a lot better than just like wearing some old ragged gym clothes. This is Matthew McConaughey with the shirt off and the cool glasses and the shorts, and then that's Chandler from Friends. So that's the two people there. And then think of yourself an athlete, and you'll perform much better. And then the last thing here is really build the team. Train with your partner, your spouse, your kids, your friends, your neighbors, coworkers. Group training will push you, and it keeps you motivated. It's much easier to get to the gym when you've got 5 other people waiting for you to be there, rather than, well, I'll go. That's 12:20. That's 12:30. Now it's 1 o'clock, and you won't go. But if you know you have friends there at 12:15, you'll be there. And then with that, with your partner, it builds a better relationship. A lot of studies come out saying when you train with your partner, your spouse, you have a much better relationship. You're probably less likely to argue over who didn't do the dishes, who didn't do the laundry, things like that. You can joke through that through the workout. With your kids, you promote that healthy living, healthy lifestyle, which is so important right now. Childhood obesity is being, the numbers going through the roof, and a lot of that starts with the parents. If parents aren't healthy, kids aren't healthy. Kids follow what your parents do. And your friends keeps you stay in touch. Instead of having that, let's go get a beer at the bar, let's go for a run. Let's do something more athletic. And again, that competition goes in. You can make fun of your friends for saying, hey, look, what'd you put on 10 pounds? What's going on? Let's step it up a little bit. And your neighbors and your coworkers build better cooperation. A lot of your neighbors, if you want to borrow your neighbor's lawnmower and you only see him once a month, he's probably not going to let you borrow it. But if you train with your neighbor all the time and say, hey, what's going on? Let's go for a run, play some tennis, play some basketball. Oh, by the way, can I borrow your lawnmower? He's probably going to do it. Same thing with your coworkers. You have a tough project coming up. If you're in a conference room dealing with your coworkers, the tension's going to be there if you're trying maybe on different sides or maybe it's not a good working environment. But getting out and doing a run with them builds that unity, and then you're much easier to get that project done, cooperate a little bit better. So those are there's kind of 6 tools. Again, thinking your body as that performance vehicle, if you will. And then there's me, contact information. We have 3 gyms in DC. You can email me. You can phone me. That's my cell phone. So, any questions? Are we taking questions? Okay. I kind of ran through that, so if you want to go back to the front. Any questions? Yeah, CrossFit is a strength and conditioning program. So how we compare it is unlike a boot camp at a regular gym. You go to a boot camp or a spin class or a yoga class, that workout today had nothing to do with the workout the other day and nothing to do with the next day. CrossFit's a program. If you played a college sport or high school sport or professional sport, you'd have a strength and conditioning coach who would say, today you're doing these 5 lifts, next day you're doing these 5 drills, next day you're doing these 5 stretches. So it's a program more than it is a workout, if you will. And it's the thing with CrossFit, it's constantly varied, functional training performed at high intensity. The CrossFit idea is that you always change your training, right, and it's functional. So it's things that are squats, it's running, it's swimming, it's biking, it's Olympic lifting, yoga, throw it into it at a high intensity. So instead of thinking about kind of a casual jog for 3 hours, it's more of short, intense bursts for 20 minutes or an hour. So it's everywhere. It's the fastest growing fitness modality, if you will, in the nation, in the world. They've went from 500 affiliates, gyms, if you will, in 2003 to over 2,500 now. It's growing quickly. Reebok is now a major sponsor of the CrossFit Games. It's just growing so fast. And what's great is the athletes. This is Graham Holmberg during the final event at the CrossFit Games last year, and he was climbing over a wall, chest to ground, jump in the air, and then scale a 15-foot rope. I mean, anyone can kind of sort of do that, if you will. It takes some time, but again, it's very functional movements. Climbing a rope is, it's not like it's a special equipment. It's a rope and you climb it. We did those things when we were kids, and we kind of forget when we get older. Anyone else? Sure. Well, there's two things. It's first, find somebody else who's going to the gym and let that person be kind of your lead. So find a friend, find a coworker, whoever else is going to the gym, find that person and say, hey, can I tag along? Just to go in and get comfortable with it. So you're not going into a gym by yourself, you don't know anybody there. So get a guest pass from your friend, go in and train with them. And then secondly, talk to a trainer or talk to a physical therapist. If you haven't done something in a while, it's like anything else. You want to find out where you might go wrong. You don't want to have an issue with a leg or a knee or an ankle and realize that 3 months into it that might stop you from training. So definitely find a partner and see a professional, if you will. So yeah, the big recommendation that I say is, you've probably heard of the caveman diet or the paleo diet, which essentially is eating like a caveman. It's eating whole foods, essentially. It's eating chicken and beef and lettuce and asparagus, everything that's whole. If it comes from a box, you probably don't want to eat it. If it promotes low fat, if it promotes a word, you probably don't want to eat it. If it says, this is low fat, you're probably like, okay, then what else is it doing to me? It might be high calorie, high sugars or high salt. So, there's these things that, like, you want to go back to eating whole, natural foods. It's getting out of anything that's in a box or pre-made or whatever it is. The whole, healthy foods are the best. And it really comes down to, like, paleo. There's a Paleo Solution by Rob Wolf, robwolf.com, 2 B's. And there's a Paleo for Athletes by Loren Cordain. A couple good books there that are really kind of tell you what to eat as an athlete. And a lot of studies are coming out right now about how that kind of diet of, again, it's whole foods, fish and meats and proteins and lots of vegetables, fruits, nuts, helps the body so much. And how we've been told eat grains, don't eat grains, eat dairy, don't eat dairy. It's like the more natural food, the more was 2,000, 20,000, 200,000 years ago, the better it is for you. Anyone else? Loren Cordain, Lorencordain, Paleo for Athletes. Yep. Yeah, it's you have to ask a lot of questions when you go out to eat. Again, there's one of the things, you go out to eat and the restaurants and the chefs, they want to make the food taste good, right? And they have to make it taste good and quick. So they're not going to really care about what oils they use. They're not going to care about salt or sugar. They want to just get it out the door. They're not really concerned about your health. You have to be concerned about your health. You can't expect that everyone else is out there worrying about, hey, let's make sure you don't have too much sugar or, too much bad oils, things like that. So you have to ask those questions and be a little, take the initiative, if you will, for your health. Michael. Well, I would definitely recommend keeping a journal, if you can. Competing on your own. If seeing like, okay, writing down what hurts. Writing down what your best mile was. Your own things, like keeping track of your own progress is key. I mean, think about when you go to college. You don't just go to college and then don't keep track of things in 4 years that give you a paper. No, they keep track of your progress. You got this A in English, great. Now you can take the next level of English. You got this C in chemistry. Okay, you can take the next level of chemistry. So keep track of your progress to see where you are. That's a huge thing. I mean, if you don't have a notebook keeping track of what you're doing, you never know where you are. It's like, getting in your car and it's driving and you wind up and where do I go? You have a GPS for a reason. It tells you kind of where to go and it keeps track along the way. Sure, you can kind of meander through, but at least you have that end goal. So tracking progress is huge there with a journal. It can be simple as how many push-ups you did, how you're feeling, things like that, even taking your pulse every day, stuff like that are just huge indicators and a way to keep track of your own health. And then in terms of the doctor thing, if you don't have a good doctor, ask around. I mean, interview a doctor like anybody else. You can see if you're comfortable with the person. I mean, you're going to go in there and ask a lot of questions about lots of things we don't typically talk about as men. So you have to be comfortable with your doctor. It's something it's not an easy thing to do. We're not kind of used to it. It's not in our guy culture, if you will. But, you can better believe that, again, LeBron James, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade are all seeing doctors during this week as their exit interviews for the season. I mean, every professional athlete has a doctor. So, Gatorade has that thing, Be Like Mike. I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan had a doctor he saw on a regular basis. Maybe they should have had that as the ad as well. So. No, the unfortunate fact is that when you hit 30, which I did 7 years ago, your muscle density starts decreasing unless you start lifting heavier and with more intensity. So that's not an uncommon thing at all. What you do is keep track of your weight you're lifting. If you're lifting 5 pounds today and you lift that the rest of your life, your muscles aren't going to get stronger. It's like reading a book. If you read a Dr. Seuss book every day of the rest of your life, you're not going to necessarily get smarter and better at reading. You have to lift heavier weights and different routines as well. Your body adapts to everything it gives you. It's one of the things that your body is meant to do is to be adapt to be more efficient. One of the things I tell my clients is that elephants walk about 30 miles per day to find water, yet they still look like elephants, right? It's not like they're walking and losing weight and looking like zebras. Like by doing the same thing over and over again, your body adapts to that. So you have to change it up. And that's where a journal comes in. Seeing, okay, how many push-ups have you done? Can you do in a minute? Well, if it was 20, can you do more now? Are you still at 20? Are you just basically plateauing? So keeping that workout journal is huge. And mix it up. You have to, variety is the spice of life, and variety is, the spice of getting better at fitness and training. So, write down what you've done, keep track, wear that watch and see, okay, well, I ran 10 miles today in 5 minutes. I ran 10 miles next time in 4 minutes. Whatever it is, keeping track. That'd be actually pretty fast. So, if you do that, we'll talk and we'll have a contract for you. Sure. Yeah, the core, it's really funny. The core strength is probably one of these hot topics everyone loves to talk about. Again, I'll go back to professional athletes. Last week 2 weeks ago we saw Nadal and Federer. And again, one of those things like when you're playing tennis, your foot's on the ground and you're hitting this. So what's in between is the core. But you're not focused on the core when they're hitting it, right? The core is there. It activates automatically. So we kind of almost do too much core training in terms of flexion. A lot of it, think about it, is that flexion motion where you just do endless sit-ups and endless sit-ups. But in sports, there's very little flexion. It's all a lot of rotation and stability. Again, offensive lineman, foot's in the ground, hands here. What's in between is their core. So more core stability than flexion and even rotation. So, take away the sit-ups and do more static, if you will. I have a whole series on core stability for runners. Again, runners might do a ton of sit-ups, but when they're running, what are they doing? They're standing. They're not in their back, so their core has been trained to be strong on their back, and it's being trained to be strong through a flexion. But in running, the core is about being stable. So more stability than flexion and rotation, if you will. Again, when you hit that tennis racket, the core is being stable as you kind of rotate that whole body through. It's turning. This whole center right here, everything's stable. Same thing when you're running and moving. You're not doing one of these with your abs. So it's more stability than it is anything else. I mean, the core is meant to be strong through stability, not through flexion and rotation necessarily. And again, if you see fitness models on a cover of a magazine with great abs, they're fitness models. That's their job. All right, so if your job was to just look awesome in a bikini and a bathing suit, then you would. If you spent 8 hours a day and you had 3 hours of training and you ate like the best of the best food and then slept for 10 hours a day, yeah. But we all have kids and wives and husbands and softball and everything else that kind of gets in the way of training 6 hours a day. Question. Generally, just yoga is great, but I would also add in some self-myofascial release, which is a foam roller. Have you seen a foam roller? Yeah, the foam roller will save your life. It's one of those things that just is amazing. Think about it, again, professional athletes get massages all the time. Well, we can't always afford $100 every single day. So a foam roller essentially gives your body myofascial, that myofascial tissue around the muscles, and releases the tension. So that's what a SMR foam roller, they sell them at like a City Sports or any running store, but foam roll your entire body. And there's, again, you can find those videos on YouTube or Google it, things like that. But the foam roller is, all of my clients every day, and I probably foam roll 6 times a day. So even for 5 minutes here or there, it's just something that you do, but that'll definitely help flexibility. Because think about like a rubber band. If you have, rubber band, say rubber band here, well, if it's loose, it's very flexible, right? But if it's tight, it's not flexible at all. So your muscles are like that. When muscles are really, really, really tight, they're not going to be flexible. So you have to keep them supple, pliable. So, your muscles are nothing but rubber bands, and by keeping them supple and pliable, they're going to function a lot better. But if they're always in this tight stance, then you're never going to be able to have good flexibility. So a lot of it's just releasing that tension that's there. So, and again, the example I use is with, you sit down all day, and so here you are, you're seated, and you get out of your chair, and you're like this because your hip flexors are tight, and your low back is tight, and your quads are tight, and you say, okay, now I'm going to go running. And you run, like, no wonder everything hurts. You want to be able to get everything up and open. So that's one of the things that, getting your kind of restoring normal posture, if you will. So, anyone else? Chris? That's a good question. I would say, mainly have fun at the gym. Have fun in what you're doing. Get outside if you like being outside. Stay inside if you want to be inside. But, keep your workouts fun. If your workouts aren't fun, you're not going to keep doing it. That's key, I think, to everything. Is that if it becomes a routine and mundane, it's like anything else. You'll fall off the wagon quickly. So it's better, really having fun, finding that support group, if you will. If it's your friend or your coworker that that you can count on. And then you're kind of responsible for each other. You're responsible saying, hey, Chris, you didn't show up. What's going on? How you doing? And really bringing that person back in. And, again, fun is a big part of fitness. We talk about, like, functional training. The key word of functional training is fun. If it means, for us, it's flipping tires, hitting a sledgehammer on a tire, throwing med balls. We have kegs filled with sand and water we throw around. It's fun toys like that. It's climbing ropes. And then things like the Tough Mudder and the Viking Run, where you get a little ridiculous and you run through mud and water, but it brings you back to that youthful age of running, in the woods when you're a kid and things like that. It's just one of those things that brings you back to having fun with fitness. So I think that's a big part. And, reevaluate your goals. Like one thing that, you probably heard the term SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, with a timetable. And that's key. Make the goals, 4-8 weeks out so you can actually reach them. Are we doing it? Anyone else? Michael? There's two sites called Map My Ride and Map My Run, where you can actually see the run you did and where you're going to go in the elevation. It's really cool. We do all the time. We do a bike loop out from DC to MacArthur Boulevard, and you can see the kind of the elevation you're going up and down. Heart rate is great. Polar makes a really awesome heart rate watch. It's a little expensive. It's $200, but you plug it into your computer and it tells you where your heart rate is the whole time during your workout. And you can see, wow, my anaerobic threshold is at 170 beats per minute. I can only stay there for 10 seconds before I drop back down. You can see where your recovery is. It's really fun if you wear that all day and you can track like what your heart's doing the whole day. It's really interesting to see that and use that as a track. Those are fun tools. And these shoes, these are the Nike Free. They have a iPod connector like in the shoe to my watch and to my heart rate, and I can actually, when I run, it can change songs for me based upon what I'm doing. So it gives you like, when you need some extra motivation, it'll kick on whatever motivates you. It's the coolest thing. I mean, it's the way technology is these days. It's really neat. There's another thing called Nexercise. That's a new iPhone app that essentially rewards you for 15 minutes of fitness. So you grab your iPhone and you run, and it tracks your movement, and then you look at reward. You win like 10% off at a smoothie place, or you win like 50% off a massage, things like that. So it's called Nexercise. Brand new app. These guys are local. They're in Silver Spring, Maryland, so it's a pretty good group. You can actually get discounts at my gym there. So yeah, those are really cool tools. And iPhone is so many different things you can play with, and lots of fun stuff. But take time, make a mix. If you don't have all that technology, make a mix, make it something that you like, and go to town with it. I mean, motivate yourself. But again, go back into the sports training and fun training. I mean, get back to that. Think about what sports you played as a kid, and have fun with it. It's funny. It depends on. At one of our gyms is more of a private training gym. It's whoever gets there first. But we're very, we let it kind of mix around. But generally neutral. We try to stay away from any words that might be offensive. We let those people. If you want to wear it on your headphone, that's fine. But we have a classical hour at our gym, which is like at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. We have that. Usually jazz in the afternoon. In mornings, it can be like 90s or 80s, and we have at night it gets kind of all overshot. A little bit of everything. But again, the music more background, if you will, at our gym because we have so many members. But individually, you can kind of do what you want. So, I saw you had a question as well. Actually, yeah, so much so, and a lot so in women as well, because a lot of studies have shown that when women do weight training, they are less likely to have osteoporosis, they have stronger bones, things like that. So that's very important. But also, again, keeping that journal and tracking what you're lifting, what you're doing. Strength training it's one of those things where you've got to do both, and this is where I would say CrossFit comes into it, combining both the strength training and the strength training with conditioning. But the thing about when we age, our muscles density decreases. So if we don't maintain weightlifting and strength training, our muscles get weaker and weaker and weaker, and we get frailer and frailer and frailer. So we're more likely to suffer an injury when we have a fall, more likely to have an injury when we fall. There's so many different studies that come out there about how important it is to keep maintain a strength training program out there. So, again, write down your weights and write down how many reps and all that kind of good stuff, so you can track and see what you're doing. Another question? Yeah. variety, change it up, and write down what you did. You know, definitely the variety is everything. And you know, think about when you're on that treadmill, elliptical, whatever it is. You know, typically gyms want you to be on a piece of equipment for a half an hour and not take up 4 or 5 different things. They want you to be very contained. You know, but what you should be doing almost is saying, treadmill for like 5 minutes, get off, do some weights. Elliptical for 5 minutes, get off, do some weights or core. So mixing it up so you're not just doing one thing and being complacent. You know, that's a variety. Again, going back to changing your workouts continuously will help a lot. But on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever you want to do, mix it up especially. And you can do, and you know, it's funny, you can do, I do a lot of my clients is we turn the treadmill off, we lean into it, and we work on just driving the belt and using your legs to drive it. We'll do laterals on the treadmill, we'll go backwards on the treadmill, things like that to, again, keep it up, keep it interesting and mix it up. Mm-hmm. Both. You know, again, you mix it up. You know, typically when you're doing heavier strength training, it's going to take more out of your body. So if you're doing your heavier sets and heavier weights, you're going to have to want to do that first and save your cardiovascular for later. But if you're doing sprints and jumps and things like that, you want to do those first. So it depends on what the intensity factor is. Whatever's more intense, do that first. You know, typically in the like the Wendler 5-3-1 strength template, essentially that is week 1 is medium, week 2 is kind of a large, and week 3 is extra large, and your 4th week is what we call a deloading week, where you let your body recover. And the same thing happens with your runs. You want to think about, you know, a moderately intense run, a little more intensity, and then scale it back. Give your body that breather. You know, that's a really important thing to think about is letting your body recover. You can't always give, you know, just push and push and push and push. You've got to have that recovery. So in terms of the workout, whatever's more intense. You know, with my runners, we'll do sprint training, and we'll do that first thing, because that's going to take the most out of them. And then we'll do some lighter weights. But on our weight day, we're doing heavy squats, heavy deadlifts first, and then doing lighter stuff later, more conditioning type runs. So there is a whole metabolic thing in terms of your stored energy and when you burn fat and when you're using your more of a stored energy in your muscles. So that's a whole other thing about like what your goal is. You know, when the idea is to be more efficient. All right, so the fitter you get, the harder it will be for you to burn more energy. You know, the idea is you want to burn fewer and fewer calories when you run, not more and more. You know, if Lance Armstrong was going to bike up a mountain and burned and was not very efficient, he wouldn't have won all of the Tour de France's. I mean, probably other things, and that's a whole other discussion about why he won it. But you know, the idea is that you're becoming more efficient through your workout. So, you know, your energy levels, if you will change the more efficient and the more fit you get. That kind of vague answer, if you will, on that. Yes. Exactly. That's right. Well, and when in the workout, again, you want to mix things up. So if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's the elephant example I use. If elephants walk, again, 30 miles a day, they still look like elephants. So changing it up substantially would help. So whatever running you do, if you're doing, what kind of running are you doing? Or workout? Okay. So are the exercises always constantly changing? Okay, and you have a log of all those? Okay. So then you would think about either changing even more, whether it's more weights or shorter workouts, maybe more recovery. Even getting more rest would help out. I mean, if you're not getting enough sleep, that can change how many calories you're burning, those type of things. So. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like anything else. You get more efficient at the exercises, and then your calorie intake as well. Change your food. So if you're going to change your food and change your exercises, well, then you don't know really which one it was. So keep your food, whatever that was, and just change one variable, and see how that, how to change your body, if you will. Is that another question, Chris? Yeah. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say they're all good. It really depends on your schedule, and also in DC, the heat. If it's today, you can work out whenever you want, but last week, if it's really hot, work out first thing in the morning. Get it done. With most of my clients, I say first thing in the morning because you're done. You don't have to worry about it. Your metabolism is now higher. You're more alert. If you do it later in the day, usually wintertime when it's warmer in the afternoon is when you want to do anything outside. But in terms of what your body's ready for, if you think about in the morning, your body's fresh. You're ready to go. It's great. In the afternoon, end of the work, again, you've been like this all day. So you get out and you go to the gym, and you're like, well, how come everything hurts? Because you've been sitting in a certain position all day. So you need a little more dynamic warm-up, if you will, at the end of the day. And early on, you need more things to kind of get your body alert. So usually with the clients we do in the morning, it's a lot of balance training, catching balls, kind of getting their mind working, so then they can do a better workout. And if it's something in the evening, it's about opening them up more. So once you spend more time opening up their body and then going into it. Middle of the day, you're usually pretty good. But generally speaking, I would say first thing in the morning if you can. But, with kids going to school and, early morning meetings and, a boss who says, oh, can you come in at 7:30? Well, you're not going to get up at 4 and go to the gym. That's the reality. So, sometimes life does dictate when you can work out. Yeah. Yeah, that fat burning zone. It's one of these things like, we got to get in that fat burning zone, and it's one of these things where here's the thing. Right now, you are burning more fat percentage-wise than you will any other time during the day. You're seated. At this point of rest, you're burning your calories. About 60% of your calories are coming from fat. The thing is, you're only going to burn about 100 calories sitting down. So you burn 60 calories here. When you go and work out, you're only going to burn about 50% or maybe 45% of those calories from fat. But in that hour, you're going to burn 500 calories. So overall, you're burning more fat, if that makes sense. So the higher the heart rate, the less percentage of where your calories are coming from with fat. The lower your heart rate, the higher that percentage. Again, it's the total caloric expenditure. If that makes sense, does that make sense to everyone? So when your body's at rest, you're sitting down, you're just doing nothing. 60% of your calories are coming from fat. Once you start moving, your body switches over and takes more from your glucose stores. So, but again, it's a total caloric expense. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. The whole idea there is that you're in your fat burning zone, but it's a percentage, and if you train at higher intensities and really push hard, your total caloric expense will be higher and you get done faster. So if you think about you're going to jog and stay in a low fat burning zone for 30 minutes, yes, you're burning a higher percentage of fat, but if you take that same workout and condense it into 5 minutes, you're going to burn so many more calories. It's about work, right? Think about if you can do in 30 minutes 1 mile, it takes a certain amount of calories. If you do that same mile in 5 minutes, it takes many more calories to do that because it's more energy, more work. So you'll burn more calories. And it's more calories than percentage of fat. So it's almost like take away the whole idea of the fat burning zone. Think about the intensity level that you're giving it. You know, it's a little bit, you know, the idea that the higher your training, the more intense you are, the more total calories you're going to burn, which is ultimately what we want to focus on in terms of if we want to lose weight, we want to get fit. And that over time will increase your metabolism, which higher metabolism means you burn more fat at this position, seated. Question? Well, there's a couple of things there. Are you relying on the machine to tell you how many calories you've burned? Okay. Yeah. I mean, when you're running for 45, you're going to burn more calories than elliptical for 45 at the same sort of intensity, right? Because of the landing, every time you land, goes into your legs have to absorb that impact. That's muscle. That's calories. So, but what if you could do that same workout in 20 minutes, right? And have 25 minutes of your life back. Wouldn't that be better? So it's like this is where taking that intensity level up and looking at, well, if I can push harder and faster in 20 minutes and then leave the gym and have 25 minutes extra time with my wife, my kids, my friends, my family, that's a better use of time. So that's the key thing there is that, you know, when I say 20 minutes, it's better to have 20 minutes of intense training than an hour of kind of moderate training. You get more of your life back, you know, and, you know, I own 3 gyms. I don't want to be in a gym all day. You know, I want to get outside. I want to see my girlfriend. I want to see my friends, my family. So it's about getting in, getting out. You know, this is where I think about that whole idea of like this 60 minutes of training. You know, it's great for some people and some who have maybe an injury or trying to reach certain specific goals. It's perfect. But for regular routine maintenance, that 20 minutes, 40 minutes, get in, get out, get done. You know, in 40 minutes you can stretch, warm up, have a 20-minute very intense workout, and leave and have way more of your life back. So, in fact, in the most recent Competitor magazine, there's this guy who talks about training for endurance athletes. And a lot of it's been endurance athletes think you have to run 100 miles a month, 200 miles a month, where the idea is that with higher levels of intensity training, you can get the same amount of performance in your distance running by only training 20 to 40 minutes a day, not doing hours and hours and hours running. I mean, there's a Marine Corps Marathon coming up in October, and all these team and trainings are taking people out for 3-hour-long runs, 4-hour-long runs. You know, that's on a Saturday, on a beautiful day. I wouldn't want to run for 4 hours. Unless it's gorgeous and you enjoy it, then I get it. But as part of your training, you know, I would think that, hey, can I get out in 20, 30 minutes and be done? Yeah, okay. And have my whole weekend back? It's much better. So, you know, back to your elliptical, take that elliptical, go for 5 minutes hard, get off, push up, sit up, squats. Get that elliptical, get back on, pull-ups, jumps, lunges, get back on 5 minutes. You do that over and over, you're going to burn more calories, you're going to get out of the gym faster. So, and again, that's where a professional, a trainer, will help you out and get you on the right path. Yep. I think that's awesome. I think P90X is great. It's, you know, what they're doing, it's a program. So they're putting people on a 90-day program, which is great. P90X is fantastic. I think it's, you know, it's really doing wonders. People are sending in photos of themselves. They're getting in shape. It's functional training. They're doing sit-ups and they're doing push-ups. They're doing pull-ups. You know, sprints and jumps and stretches with yoga. I mean, it's a really good program. You know, it's, you know, that's fun to do. You see the people and they're getting good results, but again, they're keeping their training short and sweet. Is it? Okay. Well, the intensity, though, is short. You know, I'm sure there's a whole warm-up with it, so, yeah. Yeah. But again, that's a program, so it's much better than just going and doing the same old stuff all the time. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, everyone, I want to thank you for attending today's lecture. If you could, please fill out your survey cards for me. You can leave them in the back or we'll collect them up for you. One quick announcement: on June 16th, we'll be returning back to the 1 Southeast patio area for a free Zumba class at 1 o'clock on June the 16th. Once again, I want to thank you all, and have a good day.